here. Just wanted to welcome and thank everyone for coming today. Steve was not a fan of funerals, so that's why we're going to party today. We're going to have some fun. I just want to remind everyone that we are not here to mourn his death. We are here to celebrate his life. We have close friends and family prepared to speak. A band later to rock out with. That'll start about half an hour after the last speaker. Just a PSA, there is a chance you might get offended by some of these stories that our speakers have here. If you are offended, just smile and try not to make a scene. There's also a suggestion box in the hallway if you are inclined to report anything. Steve would say, don't be gay, bro. By the way, happy Pride Month. So I'm going to lead off here. My name is Victory Koala. I worked with Steve for about 10 years. He started in 2008. When he started, he was a scrawny, loud kid who weighed about $150 in a soaking wet fur coat. He was a little baby guy. My first impression of Steve was this kid is wild. He was also kind of a dick, and he had the worst penmanship I've ever seen in my life. I used to ask Steve if he wrote his invoices with his foot, because you couldn't read it. I mean, he should have been a doctor with that handwriting, no offense, Ashley. He was really young and full of energy, really smart, really funny, and he was a hustler. He also talked a lot of shit, and that's why he fit right in with us. It didn't take him long to be the front and center of the group. He was a leader. Most people, and most definitely our customers, were not prepared for the realness that came with Steve. I got more customer complaints about Steve than the rest of everybody else in the history of the company combined. And if it was anybody else, we would have fired him, but we loved Steve. I actually had to fake fire Steve a bunch of times, pretty much once a week. Steve and I realized that the best way to get rid of a crazy person complaining was to cut them off mid-complaint and just tell them that I'm going to fire Steve right now. They usually take their foot off the gas after that, and when you use the I'm going to fire him right now trick, most customers actually say something like, no, I don't want him to get in trouble, I just want you to be aware. That never happened with Steve. Most of Steve's customers were like, serves him right. He's bad for business. Yes, that's exactly what our customers sound like. Steve led me into the circle pretty quickly. I met some of his friends, and it was all love from the beginning. It was nuts to find out that they were all just as crazy as he was, maybe not Gabe. Gabe's the coolest guy you can meet. But Chris and Animal Mike were crazy as hell. And it seemed like Steve and Black Andrew had an ongoing competition to see who could get naked at the party first. Which is crazy, because only Steve would be in a naked competition with the black guy. There was no gray area with Steve. It was all black and white, all or nothing in everything he did. Whether it was work, partying, crushing shit in his buried gymnasium, or love, he was all in. Steve was the most intense person I've ever met. When I took him to golf, it was the most intense round of golf I've ever seen by someone that was that bad at golf. He was so mad at the ball and grew angrier with each shot. A few years after he started with us, he went all in CrossFit. Travis teased him so much about CrossFit that he quit and started powerlifting. He got really big, really fast. In our line of work, we spent a lot of times in attics and crawl spaces, so it wasn't ideal to be gigantic. Steve called me up one day at work and said, Vic, I'm stuck in a crawl space. And I said, attic or under? He said, under. I said, well, do a push-up and get that house off your back, man, quit goofing off. And I laughed. He said, Vic, I'm fucking serious. I said, my bad, bro, do you want me to call the fire department? Click. Steve had a thing for hanging up on you. There were 2 times out of our million calls that I was able to hang up before him, and I'm very proud of those 2 moments. Steve called me 10 minutes after, like, I'm out. I said, thank God, man. Hey, I just want to let you know, I was just kidding about the whole push-up. Hello? Got me again. He came into the office one day and said, I met a girl and I'm going to marry her. By this time, we were all really close and we become good friends. We did what any good friends would do. We told him to chill out. It's only been 1 day. He said something like, shut up, you guys don't know shit. And he wasn't wrong. The first time Ashley came into town, he made sure that I met her and we got sushi in Long Beach. Ashley and I got on just fine from the beginning. She has a thing for fast cars. I was lucky enough to have one at the time. She asked if she could drive it. I threw her the keys and we've been good ever since. I was really happy for Steve after I met Ashley. I could tell that he was really into her and basically just trying to show her off. We were a perfect match and the true definition of soulmates. After a little time went by, Steve invited us to his first muscle dude competition. It was in San Diego, so Travis and I took a cruise down there to support him. Steve was exactly where he was supposed to be. He owned that stage and commanded the audience. No one in the house that day would have ever guessed that it was his first time. He was definitely in his element. As you all know, he was an incredible showman. He hyped up the crowd, demanded us to make noise. He definitely put the show on. There was a little break after the flexing, so we went to get something to eat before the judges announced the winner. So we walked to Denny's. It was in the same parking lot as the venue. Steve's still in full body makeup. He has a little slingshot on. That's a baby tank top with a G-string in the back and little shorts. He's on the phone with his coach asking what he can eat. His coach green lights a cheeseburger for him. Steve was so excited for this burger. And I'm sure it's because he was eating chicken, broccoli, and brown rice 20 times a day for 4 months or whatever. So we order our food. Steve's still on the phone picking his coach's brain. His coach wants to see what he looks like. He takes off the slingshot, starts getting it in right there. Coach asks about his legs. Boom, the shorts are off. Again, we're in the middle of a crowded Denny's. It's brunch or lunchtime. It's a weekend. There are no empty seats in this place. And Steve is in the middle of this Denny's in a banana hammock, ripping poses via FaceTime for his coach while Ashley holds the phone. Travis and I are laughing, just dying laughing. And we're not laughing at Steve because Steve is just doing Steve things. We're laughing at the faces of all the Denny's patrons and their reactions. These people came in for grand slams and they got beefcake. There are children and kids and their parents just staring, and Steve only has winning this competition on his mind. It was the most Steve thing that Steve could do in his Steve moment, and of course he went on to win. I want to say that Steve didn't care about what anyone thought about him, but it's way better than that. Steve didn't care what anyone thought about anything. It was a huge reason why I loved him so much. He was always unapologetically himself. I'm so grateful to have been there for a few of his milestones in his life, and I'm honored to have had the chance to speak here today. I'm so proud of my brother Steve and what he and Ashley have done. You guys created an entire culture here, started a giant family with this place, and I'm sure Steve's legacy is safe with you all. I'm going to miss him. Our next speaker is a really good friend of Steve's. They lived together for a while, and fun fact, Steve actually started growing his beard so we could tell them apart. Thank you, Ortiz.
Thank you, that was really good, man. He basically covered it all. Steve was just this really big, loving asshole, right? Super big asshole. He was a dick, but he was the most loving individual in the world. He was giant. He was a big teddy bear. And when we were living together, I remember I asked him to get me some groceries because we used to prep all our food. And when I came back to give him the money for the groceries, there was like a $90 upcharge on the groceries. And anyways, I didn't pay for it, I apologize, but that was what Steve did. I met Steve because he was working at an animal tracking company and one of our friends introduced us. And when I went on the training day with Steve, he was the first one that trained me. It was a for real training day. We jumped exits, Steve went on to show me how, you guys know what a raccoon eviction is. It's when you get this liquid. It smells horribly, right? And you use it to scare the mama raccoon and the babies out of the attic. Well, Steve didn't have any, so he went on to tell me to grab a piss bottle out of the back of his truck and use that because his pee was definitely 10 times more potent than any eviction liquid that they sold out on the market. So it was great. When I met him, it was seriously love at first sight between us. We talked about lifting and our macros and eating and all this stuff. And by the end of that first day, he was like, dude, my roommate's gonna be moving out. You want to take his spot? And it was like one day of meeting this guy, and he was like inviting me to fucking live with him. But like, it was great, and that's how loving we are. So we move in, and his girlfriend at the time prepped meals for us, and he was like, dude, she's totally gonna prep your meals for you too. So she went on to prep the meals for us for a couple weeks, and then she had a panic attack, and inevitably Steve came up to me and he was like, I think we need to stop. We prep our own meals because she kind of lost it. On these meals that we used to prep, Steve used to write me a little good morning motivation and love notes. So I would go to get my meals in the morning, and I remember one of them said, remember bro, everyone wants to be a bodybuilder, but no one wants to piss out their ass. with a hyphen, Ronnie Coleman, as a quote from Ronnie, right? He was a nutcase. He didn't really care about authority. I remember I woke up to some yelling one day, and we're at the pad, and I hear there's a police officer outside of our house, and 2 animal control officers. And the animal control officers are trying to get him to sit on the curb, and he's yelling at the cop going, "Are you really gonna try to let them do your fucking job for you?" The cop wasn't saying anything. So anyways, they finish everything, I'm listening, and Steve goes, "Hey, well, you guys are in the back of my truck. I got a bag full of piss bottles. Why don't you take those with you too?" And that's who he was, right? He wasn't scared of that shit. That's just how Steve was. It was great. I remember he broke a dude's phone at the gym because he dropped his weights on it, and inevitably it was the guy's fault. And then I got in trouble for not backing Steve up on this, but I was like, couldn't believe what was going on because the dude was so sad that his phone got broken. I was fortunate enough to be there when he met Ashley, and our stories with the women we fell in love with were very similar. I went to Las Vegas one weekend, he went to Las Vegas the next weekend. I met my wife because of a Las Vegas trip, he met his wife because of a Las Vegas trip. And when I came home to see him one day, he had gotten back, and I was like, "Dude, how was Vegas?" And he just responds with just the most Steve thing ever. He was like, "Hey, you win some, you lose some." And I'm standing there and I'm super fucking confused, and he couldn't give me the info of what happened at the time. So it's like a week that goes by, and I'm finally alone with him, and I get home, and I used to announce myself, and he would hate it because I would scream, "Daddy's home, bitch." And there were multiple times that he would be in the kitchen butt naked doing things, and I would hop into his room and all kinds of stuff. So he was naked a lot, in case you guys don't know. It was kind of his thing. That's why he had Naked Tuesdays. Naked Tuesdays?
Totally Naked Tuesdays.
Totally Naked Tuesdays. So I get home, and he's in the kitchen, and he's like, "Dude!" He yelled, and I was like, "What's up?" And he finally got to tell me how they met. And he knew right then that she was the one for him. And I wish everyone could have seen him, because I'm just going to tell a little bit. Ashley had deleted her number from his phone before they left Vegas, because I could only imagine Steve was being a total asshole while he was there. I'm pretty sure he partied super hard and was like all out rager. So he gets back, and I mean, he's stuck in his phone, and he's trying to tell me. I was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" So he hired an IT guy to dig up, just full-blown stalk her, right? This is what he did, because he knew that they were meant for each other. And he hired an IT guy to hack his phone and get her number out of there so he could track her down, because he had to see her again. And it was crazy. So as I'm making my trip, oh, one more thing. Both of the women we met lived in Arizona. Fucking weird. I was flying to Arizona, Ashley was coming to California, me and Steve were both going to Arizona, and it was just fucking crazy. And I remember when my wife and I met Steve and Ashley for the first time out there, and we left, and we just went, "What the fuck?" They're like perfect for each other. Like, it was instant. Like, look at this, you guys, right? Like, look at all you guys here to see him in this. He was an incredible human being. He was my brother, and I just feel really lucky that I got to be a part of his life for that year that we did live together. We worked together, we ate together, we prepped our meals together, we trained together, we talked shit together, and he was like so quick with the quips, the comebacks, the little things. I hope no one gets mad at this, but we were walking, he had a classic car that he got, and we were walking to pick it up, and this big black dude comes out one day, and he's like, "Hey bro, how do you get a woman to shut her mouth?" And Steve, like, so fast, my brain doesn't work like this fast, but his does. He goes, "You put a dick in it." And the guy also looked so confused for like 5 seconds on what the heck, and then goes, "Dude, that was genius." And then we went on to walk, and I'm like, "What the fuck did you think of this shit, you know?" So all these things are going through my mind, right? All the Steve sayings. I used to get a pimple, and he would look at me and go, "Bro, remember, shave it, don't pop it." And little things like that. And I am stoked to see everybody here. Steve was very dear to me. We didn't get to see each other a lot, but every time we did, I could always count on a 260-pound bear hug, right? Sweaty as shit. And the guy, he loved you, which he loved like everybody. We were training at Gold's Gym for that year we lived together. And we had like 3 people training with us that Steve was training by the time we moved out of that area. And it's just a testament, he just loved people. He loved to get to know people. He loved to be with people. And he used to tell me all the time he never would have imagined his life as what it was. And it's fucking incredible. And I'm so happy to meet him. I'm so happy to see you guys. And thank you, Ashley, for letting me share.
Thank you, Peggy. Our next speaker is really, really nervous, so if you guys could help him out and picture him naked, he would appreciate it. Travis Williams.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Hey guys, my name's Travis. It's really incredible to see so many people here to celebrate our friend. I met Steve through our work. This was well over a decade ago. My introduction to Steve came on his first day of work. I had been training to take an amateur MMA fight, and it was semi-regular for me to come in scuffed up. Skinny and baby-faced Steve walked in, looked at me and said, "Are you wearing fucking eye makeup?" I explained it was a black eye, but that was Steve. Brutally honest and to the point. At that time, he seemed like a bundle of energy, bouncing around a room with little tolerance for bullshit and no patience to be found. He was obviously hyper intelligent and had a great sense of humor, but he had some quirks back then that drove me absolutely crazy. While talking to Steve on the phone, you were at his mercy as to when that call might abruptly end. Once he reached a point in the conversation where he felt he had all the information he needed, he would just hang up. It didn't matter if you were still talking. It was infuriating, which is probably why he did it. Steve was a great troll and expert level button pusher. But I'm skipping a step. When I first met Steve, I don't know if this is an appropriate word to say in this stream, but Steve was a CrossFitter. Seriously. He was skinny and shredded and would do the CrossFit main page workout once and even twice a day. It was impressive, and I made fun of him mercilessly about it. Jokes aside, CrossFit isn't easy, and he was good at it, but I love to remind him that he was training so hard just to be the best at exercising. He eventually found his way to bodybuilding and fell in love with it, but before that, he was pretty damn good at exercising. Steve was an absolute extremist, and I think we really bonded over that. I would listen to his stories about going through Hell Week twice, trying to become a Navy SEAL. He seemed to know a lot about a lot and had done a little bit of everything, but it was always extreme with him. All the stuff he posted on Instagram was pretty tame compared to our work group chat, or if you were his friend. He was often naked, always brash and hilarious, and completely uncensored at all times. He would eventually leave the team we worked with, but we continued to stay friends. He was getting pretty heavily into bodybuilding, and I was a journeyman fighter. One of my favorite memories was when I was fighting at a casino, and Steve had gotten cage-side seats. I was lucky enough to get an early win, and when I stood and started walking to my corner to celebrate, I saw Steve's big ass through the cage, slamming the entire table his group was sitting at in excitement. He was so happy for me, and he was always there, win or lose. His growth in bodybuilding was happening around this time, and he was quickly becoming massive. He had met Ashley and committed everything to the sport. He seemed to love the suffering and full-time dedication, but he also loved it because it was something the rest of us pussies couldn't do. Gone were the days where he'd tell me about his latest bar fight. It actually happened alarmingly often until he met Ashley and put the booze down. He would regularly show me his bar fighting techniques and ask for advice or tips. His plan for each fight pretty much consisted of tackle the other guy, get on top, and punch until it was stopped. Honestly, it's definitely not the worst idea for a street fight, but I was glad when he outgrew that phase. I've heard so many wild and just plain crazy stories about Steve, but those aren't mine to tell as I wasn't there. Hopefully some get told today, because Steve had a lore or legend around him that was even bigger than his giant physique. I remember Vic and I going to San Diego to Steve's first bodybuilding show. We got settled, and 1 minute into the show, it wasn't even close. Steve looked 3D as fuck and was at least twice as big and better conditioned than anyone on that stage. Vic asked me if it was gay that we drove all the way there to sit in a crowd of dudes to watch other dudes pose in thongs. To which I replied, of course it is. And then we cheered like crazy when Steve won a big ass sword. I watched him do a full kill down and pose in the middle of a busy Denny's that day. And then they opened a gym, and I was in awe. We all have lofty dreams and aspirations, but Steve and Ashley were actually doing it. They built such a solid foundation, and I was amazed at the culture they created. Steve would excitedly tell me about the rare and awesome equipment they were getting, how they were painting it, and what the next step was. I would always ask how all this was possible. How did they know what to do? Steve would always immediately give all the credit to Ashley. And while that's probably mostly true, I think it's cool that he constantly acknowledged that he couldn't do it without her. We all need to push at times to better ourselves. I read through all the comments on Steve's Instagram and got a chuckle out of everyone saying how nice he was. I'm glad he found a tribe that he related to, and everyone got to experience that Steve. Because despite what you may hear today and how intense he could be at times, he really was a give you the shirt off his sweaty ass back kind of guy. In the end, his personality was huge, his fucking body was huge, and his crew of friends and family is even bigger. Let's help keep his dream alive and let Ashley know we love her. Hose and priest, brother. Love you, Steve.
Okay, I have a small bladder.
Does the show go on?
No, wait. She didn't tell me. They have ice cream when they keep going.
Huh? She's over there. Oh. You wanted to sit over there?
Until you ask me how I am, right? As soon as you ask me how I am, like, ah!
All the way over here, kept having all these visions of when he was little and puny, when Travis was talking about how little he was.
Yeah, and this thing has got me.
That's how I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I just looked for Steve, right? Because we were starving, and I thought, and I was out there.
I'm going to sit right next to you. I got to see right here. I got to share, you know, I can't put 3 words together. All these guys are pretty.
They're really good. And they wrote stuff off.
Thank you, Travis.
You'll be fine.
Our next speaker, a really good friend of Steve's, also his training partner, who are the blood, guts, and glory, Chris Galvin.
Fuck. Listen. I brought these to feel a little less nervous. And my X-ray goggles. So now I'm like picturing y'all naked. Never mind. I don't want to see that. I didn't prepare anything. I didn't know what the fuck to even say at something like this. I could picture him right now fucking laughing at me. He's like, man, this fucking guy really volunteered to speak in front of everybody?
I did not think it was going to happen.
Yeah, I met him, in 2019, I want to say. He actually messaged me, and I always gave him a hard time about it. I'm like, you're the one that asked me to be your training partner. He asked me to train in his gym with him. I have no fucking clue why. Because I honestly looked up to him. I never told him this because he'd think it's fucking gay. Even before I met him, I really looked up to him, and so I was pretty fucking hyped up when he asked me to train with him. And I want to say for the first year or so, me and him didn't even fucking talk when we trained together. Like, he would try to get shit out of me all the time, you fucking anybody lately, or you got into any fights lately? And I'm like, no. And I was just like his quiet training partner. And even now, like a lot of you see me, and I'm like, I say hi to everybody. I'm still pretty quiet. But it wasn't until like COVID hit and everything got shut down. Me and him were the only ones training together in the gym, and that's when we really kind of opened up to each other because we spent about every fucking day for 4 or 5 hours a day, just literally me and him training and talking, and I used to get fucking pissed. Like, man, why the fuck are we training so long? We've been here for 5 fucking hours. And he'd be like, oh, my wife's pissed at me. Like, I'm trying not to go home and hear from him. So yeah, I'd have to fucking just be there with him. And yeah, but honestly, like I look back on that time, and it's probably like the funnest time of my life. Just being able to bond with him every day and talk to him about shit. And we realized that we had a lot of shit in common. He was just like a much louder version of me. I can't really pick any fucking stories because there's so many fucking things I could say about this guy. Like, I get like, but during COVID actually, he used to give me advice on women all the time, and he gave me the worst fucking advice. And I would ask him all the time, like, after the fact, like, dude, like, why did you give me such bad fucking advice? And he'd be like, well, I'm married, and I'm trying to live vicariously through you. Like, so yeah, like, in 2020, I ended up in a relationship with 2 different women, thanks to Steven. I still remember, we were, like I said, we were training together at the gym alone, and I was dating 2 girls, and they both kind of found out about each other and like, started messaging each other, showing each other screenshots and all that. And so like me and Steven are training, I'm like, and I look at my phone in between sets, and I'm like, why do I have like 50 missed calls? And I tell him, like, oh shit, dude, like they're both outside right now. And like, again, like this is during lockdown, like right in the beginning, like nobody was on the street, so I literally just see their 2 cars parked in front of the gym. And I'm like, holy shit, like, where did they get there? Are they here to fucking jump me or something? Like, and he's just like, instead of like giving me advice, he just starts fucking cracking up. He's like, no shit, like, let him come in, like, you know, like, I'm like, no, like, so yeah, then he's like, we sit down, he's like, okay, let me see your phone. And then he's like, looking at their text, he's like, and he gives the phone back to me, and he tells me exactly what to tell each one of them. And his advice was to tell one, like, okay, like, tell her that the other one's the crazy one, and she's the side chick, and you're gonna cut her off. It's okay, I text her that. Like, the other one's the crazy one, and then I send one girl that text, and then I send the other girl the exact same text. And then they both fall for it, and one of them actually leaves the gym, and then he tells me exactly what to say to the one that stayed. And he's like, okay, now you're gonna tell her when you see her that she's the one that you want, and like everyone's crazy. And I'm like, okay, so I got this. So yeah, I go outside and make up with one. I'm like, okay, like I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she accepts. She's like, okay, I'll be your girlfriend. And as soon as she leaves the gym, I drive to the other house, the other girlfriend, and I'm like looking at Steven's text, and he's like telling me like, this, don't fuck this up, man. They're both really hot. And so yeah, I go in there nervously, and I'm like thinking like, no fucking way this is gonna work on both. Like one of them's gonna come to her senses and be like, okay, like this guy's a fucking asshole, fucking. But yeah, I gave the girl the exact same talk. I'm like, you're the one I want. The other one's crazy. I'm sorry, I slipped up. It's not gonna happen again. I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she accepts as well. So then I let Steven know, like, oh yeah, well, they both kind of fell for it, and now I have 2 girlfriends thanks to you. And for the rest of the fucking year, I was in a relationship with 2 different women. And every time, like, I would talk about how stressful it was, because it really was really fucking stressful, kind of balanced 2 relationships. He'd be like, what the fuck are you complaining about, dude? They're both hot as fuck. And yeah, just shit like that. He would give me the worst advice ever. And again, he would tell me it's because he's married and he can't do shit like that anymore. But he really loved being married though. So, like, he would tell me all the time. Like, I remember he would come into the gym sometimes fucking pissed off, like, oh, my fucking wife is bitching me out, like just like ranting to me, like, and I'm like, just like, whoa, dude, okay. And then I would see her come in, she kind of looks at him and like just walks straight past him, like, maybe not curse him out in front of Chris. And then, but then he would tell me like, oh man, like, she pisses me off, but I really love being married to her, man. She gets me fired up. Like, I love that shit about her. And you know, I thought it was really cool. It's like, so, sorry, give me a second. Yeah, I got to like, I just feel lucky that I got to see his soft side as well. Like, he was, like a lot of people are saying he was a fucking asshole to a lot of people and made a lot of people uncomfortable, but like, even with me, I got to see his soft side sometimes, because there's times where I was going through a lot, and he was really like, he could settle down and like give me the right advice, and you know, just tell me what I needed to hear, and he's like the only person that I've ever really opened up to 100%. So Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm like just ranting now. He was my best friend, like, and I really saw him that way, and every time he would like, he never told me, oh, Chris, you're my best friend, but like, like if somebody that didn't know me, he would be like, oh yeah, that's my best friend, Chris, and it'd be something really like quick, but like I couldn't even look at him when he would say that because it would make me so happy, like that he thought the same thing about me, and yeah, I don't know what else to say, but actually, I was here to do one thing. I made a list, but I'm not gonna go down the list.
Oh yeah.
He always used to tell me, especially when somebody would bug the fuck out of him, he'd be like, if I ever die, tell that fucking person I don't like him. And honestly, like, I just saw some of you clap that he said that. I'm not as mean as Steve, so I can't fucking read the list out loud. I'm not gonna go that far. And, if you want to know the list, just ask me personally. There's the top three. But yeah, he always used to tell me like this, do that for me, please. And so yeah, I just left that out there. I think I see Joey Swole too. He always wanted to have a boxing match with you. But yeah, like as much as he would say that, he was always, and like I said, I got to see his nice side as well. As you guys all know, he was always here to just help people out. Like every time somebody set foot in here, he was, whether it was like paying for coaching or help you getting like gear, elbow sleeves, not that kind of gear. He was just here to help people out, and he just wanted to see everybody succeed. Like he wanted to succeed, but he wanted to bring everybody with him as well. And I think right here we're standing in his biggest accomplishment. Not necessarily like this building, but just the fact that we're all here together. Him and Ashley literally created a family, and I'm just really happy and proud to be a part of. Even to those of you that I don't talk to on a daily basis, or we don't really conversate a lot, I just want to say I have love for all of you, and it just makes me happy to see all of you here. That's it.
Thank you, Chris. Our next speaker is Steve's best friend. Makes sense because his name is D. D. Mendoza.
All right. Hi, my name is D. Denisio and Lalo are the three names that some of you might know me by, depending on when you met me, but Steve knew me by all three. So I wrote a few things down, and Steve wouldn't like that. And he'd probably make fun of me for knowing it was because of my anxiety. So I'll talk shit about that, but this is my last chance to tell him, fuck off. So Steve was one of my best friends. Met him in high school. Grew closer to him as we got into our 20s. He was an animal, high energy. If you didn't know him, you would think he was sketchy and the biggest asshole. He was a flaker at times, but always made it out when it was important. We have a lot of good stories. Some I shouldn't bring up because I don't want us to make this look bad. But you guys are kind of fucking doing that on your own, so it's good. Steve wouldn't want it any other way. So if it wasn't going out to Long Beach bars and going all out because he didn't do it often because of his eating habits or lifting routines. It was almost getting hit by a car, walking to his apartment, drunk in the middle of the street, then banging on the hood of their cars as we walked away. Two people jumped out, a scuffle broke out, nothing too crazy. We were so drunk, we didn't notice they were dressed in drag. They were blocking the intersection and people were honking, and ultimately ended as they jumped back in their car and we walked away. They were some big dudes, and we were glad that it happened that way because probably would have went to jail for a hate crime, even though it wasn't like that. We left our asses off the whole way to his apartment. And Steve carried their wig as a trophy prize. I got there's some good pics of it. I got it printed out, and we'll probably see it on the slideshow. But sincerely a different person that had his own way of doing things. He didn't want to be a 9-to-5 guy, but when he had no choice, he did plumbing, caught wild animals for a living, and then back to being a journeyman plumber that he seemed to enjoy for the most part. He didn't talk too much shit about doing that. Catching the fucking animal thing was weird. But it makes sense. He had his own fucking schedule. I'd ask him, I don't have this written down, I'm just winging it, but I would ask him, what do you do with the fucking animals? Just let them fucking pick apart. I'm like, so you're double dipping, you know, the animals are gonna come back out, and someone's gonna call you. And he's like, yeah, well, what are you supposed to do with them? And he told me what you're legally supposed to do with them, but he didn't fucking do it like that. When we met Ashley, we knew how much he wanted to work it out with her. When she first came down to visit, when they first started dating, we'd go out for breakfast. And this motherfucker totally changed the way he was acting in front of her. And during breakfast, I called him out on it in front of her, just like he would do to me. I said, what's up, bro? No fuck yous or fuck that, or knocking down and being rude to the waiters like normal? I knew she was special to him instantly, and knew he was trying to act like a normal person until he locked her in and beat himself like he ultimately did. And that's smart move. It's hard to fucking get past him when you first meet him and not think he's a fucking asshole or some fucking sketchy bipolar fuck. My wife and I went to his secret chapel midget Elvis wedding in Vegas. We were there. We thought we were there just to party, and they told us they had a surprise for us and wouldn't tell us what it was until we walked into the room. He told me, "You're not gonna like this. So you should probably get some beer and be drunk for it." So I'm glad they chose us to be there and witness the moment as how Steve did things and got to witness the start of their life. He was in my wedding, and I was scared, fucking really scared that he would back out or be late, fuck shit up. Mainly because his fucking suit was too tight or uncomfortable, because his body was so big. So he always complained about wearing nice shit or having to dress up. Whenever we go to Vegas, he had to get stuff altered and all that stuff. And even then, he'd still be a little bitch about it. That time, he was the first one at my house. Showed up with a fifth of Jack Daniels, and said, "Let's get this party started." And I was fucking happy that he was there and he was on time. It's fucking weird. For sure, I thought he'd be the last one there, or he'd have to fucking Uber to the church. Fuck something up, for sure. He would tell you your baby or kid was ugly, or had ugly traits if it was close to you. And when I had my baby, I'm glad she was naturally beautiful. Because when he met her, he had nothing bad to say. And it was fucking pretty funny. I was shocked and said, man, she's a cute kid, which was a huge compliment coming from him. And I knew it was true. My daughter's fucking beautiful, and everyone says that about their kid, but I got fucking really lucky. So, it's pretty funny. She knows him as a fucking stinky guy with a beard. His fucking beard smells sometimes. The stuff that he put in it, or did he just smell from not fucking showering or something, I don't know. But she knows him as Steve, and but the big guy with the smelly beard. So I'm glad I was able to see him do exactly what he wanted with his life, and find someone to share with, and made him happy, and truly make it in life at a pretty young age. Even though I know Ashley was the brains of the operation. I felt like it, at least, who knows, I didn't know too much about that, but he didn't talk about it too much, so I assumed she had it all under control. He accomplished more than I think he would have dreamed of, and more than what he thought he would pull off, honestly. He mentioned a lot of times, you know, that he was surprised that he made it at like 26 or 28 years old or 30. When we went to Monster Jam this year, he said the same shit. You know, being 30, he'd be pissed that he's seen fucking crime, but he also would make fun of me. So that's pretty funny. But it's my way of fucking doing how I wanted to do it. Steve was the biggest asshole and with the biggest heart. So I thank him for being unapologetically himself. We love him, but we missed. That's what I have written down. Yeah, there's only like 4 or 5 of us that are really close, and he's one of my best friends, along with Gabe, which is right here. I met him through Gabe. First time I met Gabe, well, I kind of knew Steve from high school, but fucking, I met Steve in high school, but didn't really know him until it was, you know, right after high school. And then I met Gabe, and the first time I met Gabe and saw Steve again, they're at Chris Owen's house, which is another close friend of ours. And they're running around the house butt naked. Steve would never, Gabe was walking around with covering his nuts and his junk, you know. I don't know what he's scared of, but Steve didn't have anything to be super proud of, but he didn't care. He was average size. Yeah. He was growing or short, I guess, but he didn't care. You know, to me it was average. But yeah, maybe he was a grower. I'm not sure. Yeah, this dude was awesome, big heart. Fucking, he was a dick, but not in that way. Like, you know, he'd be an asshole, and then like at the end of whatever he was talking shit about, you know, he would tell you, you know, some good advice or tell you, you know, something nice. You know, we'd go to breakfast and we'd talk shit the whole time, and at the end, you know, he'd give you a hug, said he missed you or he loved you. It's pretty funny. So I don't know, he was a sketchy motherfucker. For sure he met his match when he got Ashley. Didn't hear any fucking complaints, to be honest. So I don't know if you want to, you know, I think you guys did a good or awesome match, because I didn't hear one fucking complaint from him, and he would tell us shit about all his fucking girlfriends or all his problems, anything he would talk shit about or complain or whatever it was. He'd make fun of it or make fun of us or whatever our relationship status was. He would, you know, pick on us for it. But with Ashley, you really didn't say anything. He didn't, you know, he would say, the worst thing he would say is, you know, because she wouldn't always come to breakfast with us, was that she didn't like us. You know, who knows if that was true or not. And he said, we would ask, like, hey, where's Ashley? And I assumed it was because she was a vegetarian and didn't really know us too much, so she didn't come out all the time. She did, you know, hang out with us in the beginning when they were first getting to know each other, so maybe that was enough for her not to like us. Because he honestly acted like a different person when he was first going out with her. I've never seen him do that. It's pretty funny. But yeah, he said she didn't fucking like us. That's why she wasn't there. But, even when he was prepping and doing his workout stuff, he'd still come out to breakfast with us and have his own fucking food. Yeah. Just to show up. We went to Monster Jam this year, and he had his meal prep food in the back. It smelled like shit, and you just have to eat it real quick, and was dedicated. So I, you know, loved. He brought it up again when we went to Monster Jam that, you know, he was surprised that he made it this far, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And he was excited about his new house he had just bought. all this stuff that you guys built. It's fucking huge. So, you know, kudos to you guys for pulling this off. I know how much it takes. And Steve will be missed. But I'm happy this is going down the way it's going down, the way he wanted it. I don't know why he always thought he was gonna fucking die at a young age, but it was probably just the way he lived or whatever the fuck. I'm pretty sure he told you guys that a lot of the times, you know, that, you know, hey, if I ever die, you know, tell this person I fucking hate him, or do this for me, or, you know, I can't remember some of the stuff he'd fucking tell us to do if he ever passed. You know, I wish I had the text, like that shirt in the back that has a text in the back that says, if I ever die, show this picture, or whatever the fuck. But he did have a list, that the other guy said, he did have a list of people to tell the fuck off, or he didn't like. I wish I had it, because I'd fucking say it. That's what he wanted, so I would have did it for him, just last fucking move. So, that's all I got to say. Gonna love him, miss him, and just, Ashley, be strong. You'll be good. Thanks.
Thank you, Pete. Our next speaker has seen Steve naked more than Ashley and Jesus, but don't spell his name with a Y. Gabe Suarez.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gabe Suarez, a friend, roommate, gym partner. You know, I know it's cliche, but he was like a brother to me. I met Steve when I was 17, when we were in high school. And I met him, we were out with some mutual friends, and he was the guy with the fake ID that can, you know, get us beer. And he was real, you know, the cool guy. And I didn't think much of it at the time because honestly, I was kind of a nerd and I didn't think we'd be friends because that's how high school works. And I remember a couple days later, I was walking away from school at lunch and I'd seen him walking back towards school, and I asked him if he wanted to have lunch. And he's like, oh, I don't have any money. I was like, well, I'll treat. And we went to Joseph's Bakery and had lunch and just talked. And then, you know, I didn't think much of that either. And then a couple days later, kind of the same thing. I was walking away from school, he was walking towards, and he's like, hey, well, let me take you out to lunch. I was like, oh, okay. And that soon became our thing, and we became really good friends. And at that point, if you saw one of us, you saw both of us. We were always together, and he really brought me out of my shell. I'm a really reserved person, and he's obviously not, from the stories you heard. And he made me, you know, feel comfortable, as obviously he's made all of you feel comfortable. And we got into some stuff. You know, he did talk about, you know, what to do when he died all the time, and probably because we had our fair share of moments where we almost died together. One time in high school, we were jumping off the cliffs at Abalone Cove, and the tides got rough, and we almost drowned. And our friend Josh Riley just stood there laughing at us, struggle for our lives, and then two random dudes just helped pull us out. And then there was a time in high school where we were walking from about 17th and Walker, you know, pissed drunk in the middle of the night, back to his dad's place on 30th Street, 30th and Gaffey. And we got all the way there, and then on that block, a car pulls up, and two guys come out and rob us at gunpoint. And Natural Steve fights with them. And back then, as cool as it wasn't ever cool, but the guy had a phone clipped on his belt, and somehow Steve knocked it away. And while they robbed and took his phone, we walked back into his house, and as typical Steve fashion, called his phone from their phone and asked him to come back and switch phones. Which they did. And we go into his house, and then his dad wakes up, and we tell him what happened, and he calls us dumbasses, and we move on. And you know, that's the Steve that everyone knows. It was like he lived this life and he knew it was gonna happen, that knew everything was gonna be okay. And whenever I was with Steve, I felt that everything was gonna be okay. And you know, we had a lot of good times together too. You know, we used to go out a lot. I remember one time he called me up and asked me to go to lunch with him. And I was like, okay. So he calls me up and he picks me up with Max Passero, and we go to Max's house. And I was like, hey, what's going on? I thought we were gonna go to lunch. And he's like, yeah, we're gonna have sandwiches. And he had just got fired from Subway, and he robbed them of all their meats. Max's house. So, I mean, I have a ton of crazy stories about him, but I like to remember the good stories. You know, when I was, you know, living away, when I was in the Navy, he would call me a couple times a week and just see how I was doing, and we would talk anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 hours. And like everyone mentioned, he would hang up. But I knew he was gonna hang up because he would always say, I love you, click. So that was kind of some solace there. And you know, he always treated me and everyone in my life, my friends, my family, as an extension of me. You know, when I was living in New York, my mom was on some hard times, and I'd called him to help her pay her rent. And he was actually at the gym at the time, and he left the gym, paid her rent, and gave her some money, and wouldn't accept anything from me in exchange. And I thank him for that. He really taught me how to be a friend. If anyone here is my friend and are thankful how I treat them, it's because of, I'm gonna cut off. It's because of how Steve treated me. He really taught me how to be a friend, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for all of you to be here to celebrate him. You know, sorry, I'm kind of going off this. A lot of them took my steam, a lot of stuff that I was going to say. I literally had it written down that he told me to tell a lot of you to fuck off. That's just a testament to how true Steve was at all times. He was just himself. And that should reflect the stories that you hear. They're all similar because Steve wasn't fake, he was real. And he was the same with everybody. And as everyone mentioned, I guess I have to mention, he was an asshole, but he was the nicest asshole you'd ever meet. And I don't want to ramble on too long, so I'll leave you with some good advice. And the last words that Steve ever spoke to me, you gotta stay hydrated.
Thank you, Gabe. Our next speaker and Steve laid so much pipe together, it would make you uncomfortable. They also did some plumbing stuff together. Robert Acosta.
Roberto Acosta.
I'm Rob Nasty. I was thinking about freestyling for everybody, but that's not gonna happen today. That's something that he would have wanted. I used to do Freestyle Fridays, and he'd be my top fucking fan right there. Watching me get on top of gang box and start freestyling for the whole job site. When I met him, I fucking saw like the biggest guy I've ever seen in my life. And he was actually a lot tinier than you guys know him now. And I just saw this side of him that was just so fucking crazy and full of raw energy that I could not even imagine trying to be like him. But I looked at him like my big brother, and he fucking taught me so much. He taught me how to be the man I am today. Like, I didn't really have any fatherly figures, but Steve was like my big brother, hands down. And I just remember fucking meeting him. I was way overweight, and he would just call me a fat fuck every fucking day at work. He would try to pick up this pipe, and the scissor lift wouldn't go up, and he'd be like, "You need to lose some fucking weight." And he's like, you know, just as much as I am, but just pure muscle. And every day of hearing, I'm a fat fuck, I eventually lost like 50 pounds because of him, and because I wanted to prove him wrong, that I could do it. And honestly, I cherish all those fucking moments I had with him being his apprentice. He saw like this fucking younger version of him and me. You know, he just got over partying, and he just got over like, you know, doing all the hard drugs and shit, and he just saw this mess that he was just like, oh, it's like me when I was younger. And funny story about how he met Ashley. You know, he left a little couple details out in these stories that you guys heard, but he popped a Cialis that day at the pool parties, and he saw the fucking best thing in the whole wide world, and swam over to her with a raging boner. And I just remember he told me, he was like, yeah, he's like, that's how I knew. He's like, I didn't get any, she made me wait. And I was like, damn, that's true love right there. Going to Arizona every other weekend to go see her. And he let me have those trunks that he swam to her in. And unfortunately, I ripped them squatting. But, you know, I think that was like a very funny story that, you know, you fucking had to be on a good one to get that courage to see you. And I was there from the very start, from when, you know, he got the first gym. I was there on opening day for the first gym, and I saw their success and their love story grow to like what it is right now. All these people are here, and I had this whole thing written, and I was like, fuck that, I'm just gonna come in here and tell everybody how I knew Steve. And yeah, you guys aren't wrong, he was the biggest dick in the whole wide world. There was not one moment where he was not an asshole to me and telling me how much of a piece of shit I was. But at the end of the day, I knew it was all out of love, and I'm pretty sure he's called you guys pieces of shit. And he probably meant it, but he's trying to, like, you know, get you guys going and build you guys up, and he's forever gonna live in our hearts, and I know for a fact he's gonna be in my heart for the rest of my life. And thank you guys for coming out. I don't really have a long ass speech, but thank you guys.
Thank you, Robert. Our next speaker met Steve on a job site at work. Crazy how many work friends he had for a guy that didn't work. But Ray Ray.
Anyways, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. My name's Ray. Social media guy for South Bay Strength Co. 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, whatever we gotta do. I met Steve on a job site, like these other dorks over here. Raw, just massive person, just humping up this pipe, and we were like in the trenches together. And just meeting him, I'm like, damn, you're big, dude. Like, do you do steroids or something? He's like, no, they just naturally make people this big. Like, dude, like, good Lord. But he bullied me too, you know, damn, you're off the lift, you're too fat. And I'm like, come on, man, don't say that to me. Like, he's like, no, you're fat. And I'm like, well, you didn't say it like that. And I'm like, yeah, you lose some weight. So I lost weight, 50 pounds. Obviously, I found it again, but he loves me no matter what. So many stories, so many people telling the same story, that how much he loved you guys, how much he hated a lot of you guys, and how true and unashamed he was to say what he felt, you know? This is Steve, this is what he built. And I swear, every single thing on this wall he said to me, out of context, no matter what, like I'm trying to pull him a pipe and he's like, let's see, I didn't do this to be healthy, and I'm like, how do you have these things remembered, you know? But they were etched into who he was. He told himself these things because he's been down below, he's been to the bottom, he's hit it, rock bottom, and he built himself up. And he, you know, it took an entire village to get to where he was, and we put him on our shoulders, and he needed to be there too, and he was like a thing of hope, and it was crazy, like how much he loved, you know. And it's, I don't know, I'm just like rambling on right now, but damn, dude, I love that guy, man. Like, he made me, he's like, dude, go take pictures. Like, I need you to come take pictures. I have like a piano in the back over here because he let me use it as a photo studio. You know, he believed in so many people, and he pushed so many people. Yeah, he was a jerk and he was mean, and you know, but it was out of love, continuously just out of love. And I always tell him, like, you know, you wouldn't have this. You would still be, you know, San Pedro, homeless man, whatever you gotta do, actual bum, if it wasn't for Ashley. You know, I tell him like the California 7 met the Ohio 10, you know? And he used to tell me all the time, he's like, you know, how come Charles Barkley never won a championship, you know? You gotta pick your team, you know? And she's Jordan, I'm Pippen, you know, we're winning 6. And here we are, dude, we're standing in 6, dude. Anyways, he was my brother, and it hurts, and there's a lot to hold on to, and a lot of memories that I'm glad that I can say I was there, you know? And, you know, and whatever stupid saying he would want me to say, but I'm not gonna say anything dumb. He did hate a lot of you guys. But anyways, lots of love. Anyway, I don't know who's next, but good luck. That guy had the best speech. Anyways, who's up next? I'll announce him. Oh man, this guy. I love this guy. Here we go, Mr. Steve Balderama.
Nick.
I got it. I'm Steve Balderama first. You know, man, I want to thank everybody that shared before me, man. You know, I like to think that you know, my love for my son was special, and that I loved him and no one else did, man. But to have you share all your stories and all that, man, touched me. You know, and for the people that called me along the way, that would tell me how much they loved my son, man, really, you know, it was special, man. I'm not as articulated as the rest of the people that've been here, man, but I'll give it a try anyhow. He loved and hated me. They know that for a fact, you know. And you know, it's hard to believe, man, that when I held him when he was born, he was only about this big, man, and I held him and we locked eyes, and he looked just like his mother. We would call him Holly Boy, because his mother's name's Holly. And you know, and at that time, man, I was pretty little wild, and you know, and all I asked God for 10 more years. I was like, just give me 10 more years with this kid right here, man. And that's all I wanted. And you know, and I got 34. And you know, and it was an honor, man, to be his father. You know, and I remember that night, man. Okay, I woke up. I was like, there's something going on, man. When you have teenage kids, you know, stuff appears in your garage, stuff disappears. You know, all kinds of weird shit, right? And I remember that night, man, and I woke up and I was like, there's something going on, what's happening? And he told me, I go, what are you, fucking nuts? And they did. They went out there and they switched phones. Okay, is that not insane? The guy just robbed them. He calls them and say, "Hey, I got your phone. You got my phone. Why don't you come on over and we'll switch phones?" And they said, "Okay." And they came over at 3:30 in the morning, whatever it was, man. And they switched phones, and it's pretty cool. You know, the Friday, you know, he died on Saturday, 3:40 in the morning, man, and that Friday I was talking to him on the phone, and he was telling me that, you know, that this is where we separate the winners from the losers, man. Is the last couple of weeks before a meet, right? That you know, that this is the losers usually quit and start eating, and they gain all that weight or that fat, and they look, you know, and he said that, you know, this is where I'm gonna win it at, man, and then he told me he loved me, and then I told him I loved you. I hung up, you know, and a few hours later I got the call, man, where he rushed down to the hospital, and he was gone. And the second person there was Ray, man. Thank you, Ray. Hey, brother, man. That's a true friend right there, man. For what he did, he came to see his friend who died, and then he did whatever he could for his wife. And I'll love you forever for that, brother, okay? And where was I? I don't have a strip either. You know, and I got to the hospital, man, and he died, man, and you know, and I'll be broken, right, forever, you know, but just to see all you people here to come and love him, man, and I love you, brother, and I know that finger very well. And that's enough out of me. Thank you.
Can we fix the mic stand? And I'm gonna go to the restroom one more time. Nervous Pete.
That's Nova.
Guys, before his wife speaks, I just want to remind you guys to cut your fucking phones off real quick. Alright?
Okay. I printed mine out because I'm always prepared. Thank you everybody for speaking. I'm surprised I haven't heard every story that was told because Stephen loved to tell stories. I knew a lot of them, but some of them I didn't. I want to thank everyone for coming today. It means a lot. I know some of you flew in, drove in, did whatever you had to do to be here, and you showed the fuck up for Stephen because he showed the fuck up for a lot of you that are in this room. Stephen loved sharing stories and making stories, and that's why I wanted this to be what it is today, is honoring him with stories. And we both fucking hate funerals. We think they're creepy, we are not death mementos people, but I didn't realize it until now that Stephen has been preparing me and all of you for his death since the moment that I met him. And that's why I knew every single motherfucking thing of what he wanted to do today. And he lived hard and he lived fast and he did everything he wanted to do in this life. And I feel like people get really hung up on death because they have so many what ifs. What if, or I should have told this person this, and I wish I would have done this for this person, and we have none of those. Like, we did everything we fucking wanted to do at all times. He said what everyone's thinking they want to say and won't say it, he would say it. And he didn't give a fuck if it was offensive or not, because that was who he was. And he was happy because he did everything he wanted and he chased all of his dreams, including chasing me, which leads me to the story that I want to tell today. I have the storyboards here and over there of our origin story. Not only is it my favorite story in the world to tell, I feel like it's probably the most important story in his life and my life right now, because we literally would not be in this room if it wasn't for us meeting. Half of you motherfuckers in here wouldn't know each other if it wasn't for us meeting. And we were destined to meet. The universe aligned in so many ways that I can't even begin to describe. There were so many little teeny tiny microscopic events that lined up over several months that if one thing didn't happen, we would have never met. And that's why I believe it was destiny. It took me a little bit to figure out where I wanted to start the story, because it started well before we met. From my perspective, the story started when I began the decision that I wanted to pursue happiness and joy in my life. I was going to lead a life that was not about making people happy, but about making decisions to make myself happy. Stephen has told me a million times throughout our 7 years together that this isn't the story of how Ashley gives a fuck about what anybody else feels. This is the story of how Ashley succeeds at all costs. He would say that every time I was getting excited about a new adventure, he always pushed me into all of my new adventures. When I decided I wanted to be happy for myself, I decided that I was going to move across the country once I graduated physical therapy school. I didn't care what state, I just wanted to be somewhere warm because Ohio was cold as fuck, and it even snowed on Easter the year that I left. Shortly before I moved out of Ohio, I linked up with a woman named Amy off of Craigslist. She needed a babysitter, and I needed a place to stay. We made a reciprocal agreement where I could live in her house and watch her 2 boys and our 2 dogs could play together while she was working on creating a life for her sons while she was going through a divorce. We both needed each other a lot at that time, and I'm really glad that we met. At the end of my stay with Amy, I went on a trip to China for 3 weeks. The day that I came back, I had my car, my stuff, my best friend, and Nova all ready and packed and ready to move across the country, and I left right in the morning without sleeping. I took my first job in Bullhead City, Arizona. Bullhead City is not a pretty place if you know what it is, but what it is very close logistically to Vegas. It was about an hour and a half away, and you bet your ass me and my friends every single weekend went to fucking Vegas. And Amy wanted to come visit me, and she had already booked herself a flight at a predetermined date and a hotel to come down, but my contract ended early and I was already in Scottsdale, Arizona. I didn't want to go because it wasn't a drivable distance anymore. It was a pain in the ass, but I still went anyways. I took a flight and I was pretty bummed, but I am a good friend and I honored the agreement that we made. I don't know how many of you know this about me, but I am the most type A planner extraordinaire you'll ever meet, including today. Sometimes I give people color-coded itineraries, like my best friend Lindsay, who is the one who drove with me to Ohio. I made sure that we made it to New Mexico for a food truck festival between 11 and 1 on a Wednesday. I wrote out how many miles we needed to go every day, what time we needed to leave, what time we needed to get there, because I had to pre-book all of our Airbnbs so that they were dog-friendly. This time, however, when I got to Vegas to visit Amy, I did not have a plan. She was not coming in until the next day, and walking off the airplane in Las Vegas, I booked an instant Airbnb. It was a studio apartment operated by a man, and I was going to sleep on his couch. If you know anything about me, this is not something that I should have ever done, but I did it anyways. The guy reached out to me to tell me that the key was hidden in a bush, and he worked at a pool club called Daylight at Mandalay Bay. He wouldn't be home until the wee hours of the morning so I could make myself comfortable. And I slept overnight, and when the man greeted me in the morning, he had this super interesting British accent, and we had an amazing conversation for a few hours, and then he was like, oh, you should join me at VIP at Daylight, you and your friend will love it. And I was like, okay. Excuse me. Accents make me thirsty. So I met up with Amy, and we checked into her hotel. And we got ready to go to Daylight at Mandalay Bay. And very quickly after walking into the pool party, a dude named Albert. Albert, are you here, by the way?
I don't think he's here.
No? Okay. Well, fuck Albert. Albert came up to me, one of Stephen's friends, who's not here, and he said, hey, you're Buff, my friend. He's Buff. You should go talk to him. And that's how I met my husband. He was sitting on the edge of the pool with his feet in the pool and his ass on the concrete, getting his hair braided by this very voluptuous black woman who I thought was his girlfriend because she was so intimately braiding his lobster's locks when he had all of his hair. I came over and I just said, fuck it, I'm gonna talk to this guy because he's cute. And we talked, and we talked, and we talked. And at some point that girl fucked off. And then eventually we were in the pool, and all of a sudden I looked around and we were the only ones in the pool. And the lifeguards were blaring the whistles and yelling at everybody to get out because somebody had puked. So we were just so enthralled that we didn't even notice, but then we all decided to leave. My friend Amy had hit it off with one of Stephen's friends, And Steven and I were enjoying each other's company, and I did keep making fun of him for having a raging boner all day. We went back to Amy and my hotel room at Harrah's, 2 queen-size beds sitting next to each other. Steven and I got to hear all of the sounds of our friends being what I will call intimate with each other. While that was happening, I wanted to tell Steven all about me, where I'm from, my degrees, my dog, all the things I was interested in. And he entertained those discussions for a while. And then he eventually got frustrated. And then he said, it's 2016, I at least deserve a hand. So, at this time I asked him to leave my hotel room. I took his phone, and I deleted my number out of it, and I told him that I wish him the best, which is my nice way of saying, go fuck yourself. He left and he punched several signs on the way out, and he made his way back to his hotel, and I heard a rumor that he went and jacked off in a closet, because someone had to give him the hand he was looking for. It was not a rumor. We both went back to our lives, and on that following Tuesday, I got a text message from Steven asking if he could call me. I had already looked him up on Facebook, and at that time I knew that he had a girlfriend, so the chances of him getting through to that phone call were pretty slim. But something inside of me decided that I would give him one redeeming shot just to hear what this motherfucker had to say. So he called me, and with a shaking voice, he had written down what he was gonna say on a napkin. He told me he had a girlfriend, told me he broke up with her the moment that he got home, because he said that he knew even if I was not the one that he was going to be with for the rest of his life, after meeting me, he knew that there was someone out there that was the person for him. What I didn't know that was in order to get my phone number, he had to find someone on Craigslist who was willing to do a data dump, and he went through every single Ohio-based area code, texting them one by one to find out which one was mine. And although it was a little bit creepy and stalkerish, as Frankie said, I do appreciate the effort because it did pay off. About 3 weeks of texting back and forth, I finally let him come visit me, but I made him get a hotel because I didn't want him to know where I lived in case he was a creeper. We stayed in a hotel, and he got one that had like a hot tub spa right next to the bed, and who knows what happened in there before we went in there, but I will say it was a magical weekend, and he maybe finally got his handy that he was looking for. By the end of that weekend, I had asked him to make our status official. He thought that I was going to ignore him and call him maybe when I wanted a booty call here and there. Little did he know that I saw and felt something so special in him that I did not want to let that go from that moment on. And literally from that moment on, we were inseparable. Although we lived in other states, we texted and called each other nonstop. We visited each other every single weekend. It was only a 45-minute flight, and it was like $80 on Spirit. It's cheaper than going out to dinner. We did long distance for 4 months until I moved with him in California. The weekend that I moved into his apartment, Frankie moved out that same weekend to go be with his now wife in Arizona. And we didn't plan it that way. From there on, the rest of the story is kind of history. I have always been a strong and independent woman who never really needed anybody to be okay. But I wanted Steven more than I wanted anybody else in my whole entire life. He is my forever partner, and he is my soulmate. And we were not only destined to meet, but we were destined to be together. And I'm so grateful that I got to share almost a third of my life with him, because I'm forever changed because of it. In reflecting about our lives over the past 2 weeks after he's passed, I saw something that I've never seen before. I used to give Steven a hard time about being a stay-at-home dog dad and not really doing anything at the gym besides the trash, you know, the janitor man. To me, when I think about the business, I think about dollars and cents. And it wasn't until his passing that I saw all of these stories of people sharing what an impact that Steven had on them. It's pretty obvious, whether you met Steven for 1 minute or got the pleasure of knowing him for several weeks or years of your life, he made an indelible mark on every single person he ever interacted with. He was that special of a character. I am so glad I get to see this now, that what he valued the most in the world was his relationships with everybody. I feel that we can all learn from that perspective, because at the end of the day, it's not the money that matters, it is those relationships. Stephen has taught me so many things I can't begin to count. He has pushed me in ways that I never thought I could be pushed. He wanted me to be the best version of myself at all times. He made me pursue everything that I was passionate about with a tenacity that I don't think I would have had without him behind me. He let me lead the dance that is our lives with grace. He allowed me to take credit for a lot of the things that we did together. All he cared about was seeing me happy and us pursuing our dreams at all costs. I am forever eternally grateful for the person that I am now, knowing him, because I am forever better because of it. I want to propose a question to all of you with a hand raised. How many of you have heard a story from Stephen that starts with the line of, if I die or when I die, I want you to do this for me? It's more of you motherfuckers, come on. We're all wearing a shirt that has it on.
If their hand was down, he hated them.
Yes. So a lot of us have heard these stories. And what I would like to do now is I want to make an announcement about something that I'm doing to honor Stephen. We're going to make a toast to that. And it fulfills one of Stephen's if I die wishes as well. A lot of you are giggling because you know what's going to happen. The announcement that I have is no, I want to call myself out before I announce that. Stephen called me like Jewy McJewishin. I am Jewish. Stephen was so charitable that it pissed me off at times. A lot of you motherfuckers were like, I have to pay for the shirt, I never paid for a shirt. If it was up to him, the gym would be free, and we would make no money, and we would be homeless. And with that being said, Stephen would probably think I have a brain tumor because I want to give away to charity. We're creating a scholarship foundation in his honor called Bummy Lends a Handy, because consider all the handies now. So this scholarship foundation will take a predetermined amount of applicants each year that, if chosen, will receive a one-year scholarship to the gym of their choice anywhere in the country for free. I want this foundation to live in honor of how charitable he was. The shirts that we're selling today will be a part of the first donation to the organization. The South Bay Beatdown is a powerlifting competition that we hold annually. It's going to be renamed to Bummies Beatdown, and all of the proceeds from that event are going to go into the foundation. Gabe, John Dorsey, many of you know as Gabe, has supplied some pre-workout for us today. He owns that company. He is also creating a flavor in Stephen's honor called Bum Cherry. And a certain dollar amount of each of the sale of those pre-workouts are going to go into the foundation as well. Now, to the if I die part. When Stephen, myself, and Chandler, big pan man now Chandler, we're here building out this gym, what we call 2.0. Stephen looked at us out of nowhere and he just said, hey, if I die, I want you to take my ashes and I want you to put them in a bottle of pre-workout and I want you to shake it up and I want everybody to take a scoop of me and have the gnarliest fucking leg day with me inside of you. I started telling people that story as a joke, and like the fucking gym fam was like, we're doing that, right? And I was like, I guess we have to, right? So, we are going to honor that wish today, for those of you who choose to. To my left and to my right, I have two identical pre-workout stations. There are several bottles laced with Stephen's ashes in it, I promise. It's 2 scoops per jar, and it's safe. And there's one bottle that is not. I would like for, we're gonna take like a 10-minute intermission, and I would like for everyone to come up to each table, choose the scoop of your choice, put it in a Dixie cup, the ladies will pour water in there with you, and then we're gonna rejoin and do a cheers to Stephen.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you.
Alright, let's cheers to Steven.
Now you should have
Gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light. Love you, Steven, forever.
Backbeat, the windows on the street that the fight in your eyes out. I like that. Show them what you've been out before, but you never really had time. I believe that everybody feels
Okay, I just want to let everybody know what's about to happen. So, we are going to have a punk band play in about 30 minutes. We're going to need to clear all the chairs. This is for real. If you do not want to be involved in some fucking chaos, please go next door or go to the front of the gym. But we're going to have an active mosh pit and a band, and it's everything that Steven fucking wanted. So if you don't want to be a part of throwing elbows, get the fuck out.
That's another thing too, yeah. There you go. That's why I like it. Don't put that there.
So I met Steve about 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, doing music. 9 years before we were there. Back then, when I came up here with big side, everyone would shoot our long shot. I see I understood more than anyone. This team obviously took over. So making music, I don't know who the fuck introduced me. My name is Andrew Kane. My
maybe Denise, I'm not fucking sure. But it was before Ashley. And she told me the story about her shit and how they met in Vegas and all that weird stuff. I don't fucking know. So, Steve used to really text me all the time. Listen music. And check out this band. This thing is almost as crazy as you, but we're a fucking pussy. But I mean, she didn't have an album his ass right here in front of him. I don't give a shit. So, knowing Steve, I used to walk into the old South Bay here and stuff. I used to walk in there and all you big motherfuckers, excuse me, I just call you big, because I'm fucking not big. And he used to like walk like thinking about to make some fucking thing, I don't know. And I used to run there and I used to fucking yell like a beast. You guys probably don't say it, laugh at me. But that was just the see these things and calm yourself down. So this is what tells stories. I used to have an ex-girlfriend. And Steve used to tell me every time he used to tell me your girlfriend's hot, calm down. She's beautiful. And she fucking killed me. I used to see her squash watermelons in between her legs, and I used to see her as a goat pissed off, because if you have to go down there, that's a tough sentence. You got some fucking balls. She might fuck me up, and I don't know what to do, but she might fuck me up. So we used to go on the shows all the time, our band, down the Floridas, people wouldn't follow, whenever it is what it is, coming out to LA and I see you guys, they show up, and I don't think they wouldn't fucking show up, but they would because, Steve loved the fucking music. So she called me a few days after passing and wanted to play a hardcore show. And that was funny, because Steve loved our band and we loved a few songs, so we're just going to play a few short songs and Steve's honor. Whether you want to have fun or not, it's up to you. I don't give a shit. He would want you to take off your shirt. I used to call him a window garden though, because it's fucking weird. A window garden though. But I don't give a fuck. My kids came here and I kick your fucking ass. I was so fucking tired. And shit, and big, and crap. Like, whatever. It is what it is. And he was telling me to my shirt. And he was the other guy with the bosses, excuse me, to come up against me, because I'm gonna fucking word. Look at me. Fuck guys all around me. Bad balls. That's what Steve. I used to get older, I'm heading for 40. I know, I look like I'm 25. But I'm heading for 40, and I started going to more funerals all over and over. People die and this and that. And I'd start going to funerals, and I'd speak and this and that. And I'd hear a lot of shit, like, oh, he was that, she was that, this and that. And if I really knew the person, I'd be like, no. I mean, yeah, but no, I wasn't that. But Steve, everything that every top 10 speakers, whatever the fuck said tonight, you're right. He was funny. He was a fucking asshole. He was this, he was that. I was like, well, that's actually young, that actually include me. Like, you're right. You fucking right. Yeah. He was this. And you see him at CBS, she's walking around bullshit, he's still eating. And when I stop eating, I'm a fucking fat piece of shit. That's a skinny guy, man, you're fat. Stop fucking eating all the time. Fucking, what's wrong with you? Eat some pussy, that's better than chicken. I apologize, I'm sorry what happened. It is what it is. You guys are not here because you give a fuck about Steve. And fuck, I don't know what to fucking say. I love the guy, and from the time I had with him, 7 to 8 years, and the people that went beyond that. You're here because you love him too, and keep this fucking thing going, because fucking, every time you do a punch, every time you check your fucking power shakes, or whatever the hell you guys are putting into your fucking bodies, Ashley. That's as simple as that. And keep fair. And tell your friends and all that stuff that just like, this is a real fucking gym. This is a real fucking gym. I went to another person last year, and I was just like, well, it's really fucking weird. She made me help a money for the first time. I was passed out. Jesus Christ, dude. What the fuck's wrong with you guys? It fucked me up, dude. I might have lost brain cells still to this day. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you guys? I'm not even here, and I feel family more than I've ever seen before, and not just with me, it's just to her. So you know, buy a fucking shirt and love this fucking place, and if you are a part of this place, then become part of it, because this is family, and family's more important than fucking everything else. I want to see that. Let's
that your input in now? What? Is that your input in now? I think so. I heard that. I got a guy for it. Well, see, my head is my connector.